Every year, thousands of people from every walk of life come together from around the world for the Boston Marathon, starting in Hopkinton. Runners traverse 26.2 long miles past schools, homes, and businesses towards the finish line in Boston's Copley Square. In April 2013, what was supposed to be a festive Monday celebration for the Boston community with smiles and hugs turned into a nightmare we will never forget. The terrorist attack at the finish line robbed us of precious souls, injured hundreds who are still recovering from physical injuries and invisible wounds, and traumatized thousands. My neighbors in our community are still healing from tragedy, which is why I drafted in close partnership with marathon survivors the Post-Disaster Mental Health Response Act. This was signed into law in 2022. It's legislation to extend FEMA's crisis counseling supports to survivors of terrorist attacks. And it is why I especially appreciate today's hearing focused on reauthorizing the Terrorism Risk Insurance Act, also known as TRIA. For the general public, TRIA is a form of insurance to cover the economic losses to businesses and is critical to rebuilding community after terrorist attack. It supports brick and mortar shops that are physically damaged, and it helps business owners pay their employers so no worker has to worry about bills while focusing on recovery. But TRIA could be strengthened to better meet the needs of cities and states. In the aftermath of the Boston Marathon bombing, businesses waited for weeks, months, and ultimately more than a year to learn if the Treasury Secretary would classify the assault on our city as a terrorist attack. That classification is the essential first step in determining if insurance payouts will be backed by the government. Mr. Webble, can you explain why Treasury may take lengthy time periods to classify a terrorist attack?
I mean, I think there's obvious difficulties in terms of attribution of terrorist attack. Who exactly performed it, that's critical in determining a certification. I think in the case particularly of the bombing in Boston, the biggest issue was the insured losses not meeting the $5 million certification. And the fact that it is property casualty losses, not losses to life and limb and health insurance that count. And so I think that in some ways, a lot of the difficulties here revolve around the integration of what is a reinsurance program, TRIA, in primary insurance coverage, which is the coverage that the insurers are giving to the businesses that were around the bombing. In most cases, primary insurance would go ahead and pay, whereas if there was reinsurance coverage in the private sector, there would then be a negotiation between them. But this intermixing of the two causes, I think, confusion.
Thank you so much, Mr. Webble. And Commissioner Moss, insurers and businesses alike want certainty on the timing of whether an event would be declared an act of terrorism. What are the consequences of delays in getting a response from Treasury?
The consequences of delays in getting a response from Treasury post-event, is that what?
Yes.
You know, I'm uncertain as to how to respond to that because, frankly, TRIA is run by Treasury. There are very definite requirements that must be met, as we saw in the Boston Marathon, as was just explained.
Okay, fair enough. Let me ask a question because the clock is ticking here. Mr. Webble and Commissioner Moss, there is a proposal to require Treasury to respond to requests for classification from a governor within 6 months. And even if denied, a governor can make the request again. This would offer certainty around response timing, but not finality for an answer. How could such a system help or hinder the current process for TRIA?
I mean, I think it would certainly help the primary insurers to have certainty to pay out or not to pay out based on their policies that revolve around certification.
And again, I would defer to Treasury and the Congress, but certainty always helps.
Okay, thank you. I truly pray that no community experiences a terrorist attack. No one should have to live with that pain, that fear, and that trauma. To my neighbors still struggling in the aftermath and grieving the loss of a loved one or what could have been, know that your Congresswoman sees you and your family. I yield back.